Welcome to the Teachers Talkin' podcast, hosted by Dustin and Ghazali Abdul Wahab. In this podcast, we discuss all things education and teaching, from innovative teaching methods to challenges to strategies and much, much more. In this discussion or roundtable-based podcast, we bring in educators from all around the world to talk about a variety of education topics so that we can support as many teachers as possible. We want this to be a place of inspiration, personal and professional development, and simply a place where we can elevate education together. Welcome to Teachers Talkin'. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Teachers Talkin'. I am Dustin, here with my co-host Ghazali, and today we are going to dive into a topic of mentorship, how schools can better support both new and veteran educators. And we are going to use the guiding question, what role should mentorship play in helping teachers to thrive? And how can how can schools create systems that truly support both newcoming and experienced educators? And so today joining us is Judy Raphalalane. I practiced it, now I said it wrong. Judy Raphalalane, a teacher from South America. I am sorry, but I'm getting it right. She has 11 years in the private sector, and Judy transitioned into public education and has spent the last decade navigating the stark cultural differences between those two systems. So Judy, why don't you start by sharing a little bit about your journey, from that private sector into public education, and what would you say is, the most surprising or challenging thing about that transition to kick us off?
All righty. It's Judy from South Africa.
Yes, our first, isn't it? Dustin?
Yes.
Is it? All righty. So I started working out in the private sector, not necessarily in education, but I was in the finance department in the private sector for 11 to 12 years. And you see, there's order. We observe work ethics. Things are structured. We have clear goals that are set, and we know what we are working, towards. Teamwork is emphasized so much. You are taken care of at work. It's more of, you have a balance of your personal life, what is happening to you that is affecting you at work, and everything is, I would say for me, my private experience was, there was a balance between my personal life and how I'm developing and growing that, and my balance and the balance in my professional life. So I could work these two together. And then I went into the public sector. 2015, I started working out as a primary school teacher in the townships, of course. The first thing that shocked me there was, I believe that when you get into a new work area, you need some induction, so that you can know where you are, the culture of these people, what are we working at? And there was none induction whatsoever. So you are left trying to figure it out by yourself. You need to go and find how these people are operating. Like, there was no one at all who said, okay, we have a SAYS handbook that sort of has our guidelines of what is expected from a teacher and what's not. I had to find that by myself, and I went through it all by myself. Then we are governed by, in South Africa, we are governed by something that is called the PEM guidance. So it's more of the procedures, for the administrative procedures for the department. And I had to find that document again by myself. So when you get into the system, there's no platform that no one holds you by the hand, or even if they don't hold you by the hand, but they give you, I believe they should give you the information and say, all right, Judy, welcome. This is what is guiding us. So at least go and read. But that was just the first cultural shock for me that, oh, here you have to learn everything by yourself. And as I went along, I found out that some of the things that I am reading about and trying to practice them become a breeding ground for conflict because of obviously interpretation and understanding. I understand something that I read in this way, and they want to practice it in this way, but no one has initially in the beginning said this is so. Yeah, it was really it was really, for me, it was a depressing moment of, wow, I left a place that had guidelines, that had clear written instructions. And I'm into this place where it seems like no one has an idea of what we are doing. And no one is willing to, to be clear that this is what we are all about. Yeah. So that was my transition in short.
Wow. Okay. And no regrets, right? Now that you're a teacher?
I love the kids. I love the job. I just don't like the environment and the work ethics. But I don't regret what I'm doing each day with the kids in class.
What is it about the work ethics that turns you off?
I think the fact that there are certain roles and duties that are ascribed to certain positions, that you expect people in such positions to abide by those, or to do such things. I think that because there are not clear instructions, there is just that thing that people are mixing things, which normally cause chaos in the organization. If people don't know what to expect, when do we do such a thing, and who is supposed to tell us what to do this, how do we do this, I think it breeds confusion. And where there is confusion, there is bound to be chaos in such a way that I think it brings about the lack of culture. So overall, it makes it difficult for people to be productive. Me coming from the private sector, it makes it difficult for me to be productive in it, because sometimes you are like walking on eggshells because you just don't know where I am. If I do this, what will the principal? Okay, so in South Africa, we have the principals who are deemed our immediate senior. And then you have the deputy principals who, in the absence of the principal, they are immediate seniors. They are your immediate senior. And then we have those that we call departmental heads, of which they are those that manage certain learning areas. And all of them have different roles. And then you have a grade head. For example, I'm teaching grade 7. We have someone who is responsible for the functioning of the grade head. So I think in our organizations, not actually clearly defining these roles and making sure that everybody knows what they are doing, people get in and out of certain roles. And then when they get across Judy, who has read up of that someone can do up to this level, it becomes a question of you are not recognizing authority when you start to question that, oh, but according to the PAM document, your roles are up to, a certain, yeah. I really think that if the induction was done properly, and if people knew their roles and everything, it will even avoid conflict in the workplaces. It will just make sure people stay in their lines so that everyone underneath or the us who are not, in position will be able to know that we're working with this one when it comes to this. Okay, in terms of I've got grade issues, I go to the grade head. If I've got issues with my learning area, the subject that I'm teaching, then I have to go to the departmental head of that. And then if I have a problem with maybe curriculum or personnel issues, human resource issues, I need to go to the principal. So sometimes it feels like everybody wants to be in charge. And in that, we step on each other's toes. And that doesn't create a great culture and especially because I had great bosses when I was in the private sector. I had great bosses who really were all about developing people, no matter what your position was. But it was about when a person is fully developed, they function at their full capacity, and they can do any. I mean, I had a great boss. If I can mention him, my boss was Nigel Wilkes. He made me believe I can shoot for the stars. I can do anything and everything. And because of that, I did my job effortlessly. I could do anything and anything because I knew that he believed in me, and he just wanted us to work, and be productive. Yeah. So that's just the frustration of the environment.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah. So when it comes to this, what you see currently is happening within your environment, current environment, what do you think a strong mentorship program looks like, and what can it do to help alleviate all these issues that you're seeing?
Okay. So I think that when let me say, for example, we have new teachers entering into the system. Let's have an induction session with them, and not a once-off session with them, but gradually saying to them, these are the roles of a departmental head. These are the roles of a grade head. These are the roles of a deputy principal. These are the role of a principal for you. And then walk with them to make sure that they settle well. They understand, we have, before I went into the education sector, I tried to research. There are people that are called senior educators. I think once in a while, the government just appoints people. I thought that those people are actually appointed senior educators so that they can make sure that, I'm a sociology student, that what they were socialized in is transferred to the younger generation that is coming in, so that there is a smooth transition. But when I went to the place, I found out that it doesn't work in that way, actually. So if there were people, regardless of whether they are in position or not, but we know that they are people of sound and a sober mind, a sound work ethic, principled, people that have proven themselves to be passionate about education, that will walk the journey with the new. Let me say you assign someone to a person for a year, to say, walk with this person for a year. Number one, they will develop them not only in terms of curriculum, but in terms of just, when you are in a workplace, how do you carry yourself? When we are in a workplace, this is how you communicate. And now we have a generation that comes into the workplace. I was fortunate. I went into teaching, but I had a work experience before. We have a generation that comes from varsity straight into the workplace, and they still don't have an idea of what is expected of me in the workplace. How am I supposed to carry myself? And the generation that I'm teaching, what is it that they are expecting from me? How do I carry myself in front of the kids? The morals, the moral fiber has changed. The culture has changed. I always say to the elders, I love the elders that I have in the education department that I look up to, and I make sure that I stick to them, because I believe that they ran this thing well, and I can learn from them on how to treat myself in class, treat my children, treat the seniors, and how to carry myself, even in the community. It is like holistically so. How as a young teacher you carry yourself holistically, it will preserve the face of education in an ever-changing society. If I can give an example, nowadays we have educators who come into the system who in weekends will be found drinking in pubs where the learners that they teach are. And the generation that we're teaching before we got in would not be found doing that. And that has an impact on how the learner looks at me then on Monday. Because if a learner sees me in a place where, they go as well to chill, on Monday when they come to school, they have some sort of familiarity that breaks the boundary in between. There's a level between me and you. You have to see that, as much as I might be young, but we are in different levels. So for such things in the society, how do I carry myself? Even when I discipline kids, one thing that I'm passionate about is building. It's shaping the leaders. I know that I'm an educator, but I always say I'm a holistic teacher. I'm not really a content teacher more, because I believe that if I teach a child, at the end, when they leave the year with me, they should be able to lead themselves and they should be able to lead others. If we have someone who is of sober mind and sound mind, of a dignified person, holding a young teacher's hand to say to you, that we don't teach curriculum only here, but we teach kids how to carry themselves. We impart into kids. It's not only going to class, giving them notes, assessing them, but it's about, imparting into them that they can become future leaders in different gifts that they have. I think it will work. So I'm not looking at mentorship only as in mentoring people so that in the future they can become promoted, but mentoring people so that we have a system that runs, a peaceful system that runs in terms of how we treat our kids, how we carry ourselves in society as educators, how we deliver the curriculum, and even how we deliver the curriculum in class. I mean, sometimes, and even how we present ourselves. It's very important for me that we are in a time where there are trends and clothing trends and all this, and it's like, have someone who will mentor you how to live, look hip and cool, but still look presentable in front of kids. I always say, as much as we think that we are teachers, more than anything, we are role models. Our kids look at how you come to class, how you present yourself, how you command the classroom, and some kids, I've learned that some of the kids just pass my subject just because they love me, not because they are working hard at it. So yeah, if we could have people who are, of that caliber, taking up one teacher at a step and saying, this is how we do it. No matter what type of personality I know that we are different, we are wired differently, we are meant for different purposes, but no matter how different a person is, the common goal is, we are here to develop a child. Let's develop a fully grounded child. And unfortunately, you can't do that by yourself. You can't do that as a newly graduate without having someone pouring into you. So that is my perspective of mentorship. I hope
No, I think you're talking a lot about the different types of gaps that you're seeing in the system. And I think that even with like this common goal of developing children to be their best selves, the other part of that is that we have to continue to be developed to be our best selves in order to then in turn develop that child. And so I kind of hear you saying that there is a lack of alignment from, because your system is very similar to like the system that we run in the United States, right? We have a principal, we have assistant principals, we have department heads, we have grade level leads, and every school is different, right? Yeah. What I hear you saying is there's a lack of alignment from all of those positions, which then creates a lack of expectations that happen. It creates a lack of consistency from role to role, and therefore also a lack of priorities. I definitely was in a school where I had a principal who was changing priorities from week to week, and that created a lot of chaos within, the learning system. And And so, and then all of that then leads to a lack of development, right?
Yes.
So I'm curious, I'm going to go way off of what I was originally going to ask you. And I'm curious, from your perspective, how would you change that in your school? Like if you had an opportunity, especially being the teacher, right? Like you're not going to be able to change that by like moving up the ladder little by little, right? But like if you went into school on Monday and you were like, I see that changes are needed to be made in this system, like how would you go about starting to make those changes, if you were given the opportunity to do so?
All right. When I got into the system in 2015, there was something called SDF. I think we know it in private sector, Skills Development Facilitator. And in education, what that could serve as is every school has that person who really does not serve as not only a curriculum skills development only, but as a person who really just oversees the function, the day-to-day functioning of the school and looking at where we lack. And after that, that person can either say, let's have workshops on certain things, whatever that, it has been observed, let's have a workshop. And if need be that, I need to call someone from outside to come and address that issue, then you go and call someone. I don't understand why. I remember when I went into the workplace as a nearly 21-year-old graduate, I was set on a development development plan in terms of my personally and even work-wise. I did some self-assertive courses. I did course like how to deal with difficult people, of which some of those things are things that we take for granted, that when you're graduated, it means you are equipped with such skills. So I believe that if there could be an opportunity, such things are things that I could do at schools. Because sometimes you look, after 20 years in the workplace, sometimes it just takes me a week to observe a person and say, here, there is A, B, C, D, that we can do. But the problem is sometimes we are even led by people who are not open to that perspective. There's a say that you can't lead people, you can't take people where you haven't been. Fortunately for me, I have been in an environment where my boss was really concerned about how I develop as a person, because if I develop as a person, it means I will develop even in my work space. So he took that, and Nigel took that really to heart, that his people need to be developed. And I think even with the way that our education space work, when sometimes when you try to raise your head and say maybe we could be looking at this, it seems like there's a clash between what you want to do, and because that has been given to the principal, as a person who should be looking at where is my staff, where can I develop them. But that will be, and it's really something in my heart that if given a chance, we should be looking at something like this, looking at where people lack and bringing in the workshops there, bringing in the courses. If we ought to go for a team building, let's go there, but let it be a continuous development that goes in, that if you forget, you are reminded. Now and then there is that system that reminds people. Now and then there is that system that says, hey, be awake. So that's something that I'm passionate about, that I could bring into my space. And obviously, when you do something like that, doesn't mean that you have got it all. You will bring other people in the same environment. As I say, there are so many elders that I look up to in the environment who are not even in management positions, but I see the beautiful work that they do, and I learn from them. So you could bring people like that and let it be a teamwork that everybody gets to own it. Because when everybody owns it, then they will contribute and make it successful. Yeah, that's my take.
Yeah, that's definitely very insightful and very, very important. So maybe we can focus in deeper into what qualities do you think make someone not just a good mentor, but an extraordinary one who leaves a lasting impact on another person's life, like the mentor did for you?
Mm-hmm.
I think someone who is who is content in who they are, because you can't go mentoring people if you're still trying to find out who you are, you know. And someone who is really wise. Yeah, we need wisdom. Someone who is an active listener, and someone who is really honest. Someone who is really honest. Someone who is a person of integrity.
Mm.
A person who is really selfless, because I believe that you can't give to others if you are still me, 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 me. A person who looks at a world, at a bigger picture, not from their own little perspective. A person who is passionate about seeing other people grow. A person who understands that in Africa, we say it takes a nation to bring up a village, to bring up a child. A person who understands that and practice that. A person who is not selfish, a person who is willing to share, a person who understands that leadership is not a position, but leadership is really just you understanding that I'm a servant, I'm being trusted with some certain qualities that I need to pour into other people. Someone who understands that if they are given that, it shouldn't be all about them getting their attention, but it should be about the people that come behind, and really, really integrity more than anything else. Because I really think that you have to be a person who mean what they say and say what they and say what they mean, and know that what you're doing is that it's for the greater purpose. And someone who's willing to learn. You can't mentor people if you're not willing to learn. You need to be flexible. You need to be flexible as much as you are convicted about certain things, but you need to be open to hear other people, and always willing to research, and don't speak until you have a sound understanding of what you are going to speak about. Be willing to be corrected if there is correction. You might be a mentor but still be growing in other aspects of life. So you don't have it all, but you would just be a driving force behind this program of mentoring others. I think, in short, that's what I can say. Yeah.
Wow, that's really if you find a person like that, please introduce him or her to me. Yeah, because those are really, really very, very big, huge shoes to fill in. And I guess that will make the difference between someone who just provides information versus
Yes.
someone who sparks a transformative journey of self-discovery, right, for the mentee. So in that sense, how might an extraordinary mentor help someone see possibilities within themselves that they couldn't yet imagine, and then let them grow and develop?
Yes.
So what techniques have you used to your mentees?
I really haven't. I can't say I really have mentored people formally like that, but I have always had someone around me. Just on, or was it on Thursday? One girl called me. I've walked a journey with some girls, as young as I am. They call me Mama, and I have always, encouraged them to reach for their full potential. I have always pushed people around me to say, there's more. I am not afraid to say to a person, I am an educator, but it does not mean that you have to end here. And I think I have been just graced with the ability of maybe sometimes seeing the people with potential, and saying to them, yes, you can. And one thing that I think I'm graced with is bearing with each other. Sometimes, the people that I normally work with will come to me rough, unkempt, having not really a clear sense of who they are and what they want to do. And in the process, I have seen myself being able to work with them in finding out who they are and being established in who they are. And, bearing all the challenges that they go through. And some of the challenges, I remember there's a lady at work that I walked a journey with. When she came in, she was all over the place. And at some stage, she fought with everyone. and she was nobody's cup of tea. No one wanted to be. But I kept saying, I believe there's something about you. Says there's some greatness in you, and I'm willing to, bear the brunt from other people so that we can maybe walk and see what is it that, it's in you. And I am proud to say that she seems to be getting grounded now. She's no longer fighting with people. She knows that I need to be certain. I need to know about certain things before I speak. And she knows that there's a better way of addressing conflict, and sometimes I just need to be quiet. And what I do, I don't normally say a lot unless I have to talk, but I believe that in working with them, I model what I want them to become. And if they ought to come and ask, I'm always open for questions. If whether they called me one time to ask questions, I am available to answer those questions. The girl that called me on Wednesday said, Mama, we miss you. We haven't been in touch as we miss you. But the reason we miss you is not because there's something wrong, but it's because we want you to see the fruition of what you have, implanted in us. We are people, we are grounded, we are rooted, and we see ourselves managing our lives without having to call you, without having to be on the phone or text, because you believed in us and you've planted a seed. So I can't say that I've got it all, but in just working with them and practicing what I preach, really, and modeling what I want them to, and believing in them. And as I said, just bearing with them, whether they step out of line and, and they get you into trouble. Sometimes it's really, paying the cost of sometimes getting to be, I remember at some stage they were like, yeah, this is your child. Every time she makes mistake, you come in. But I believe in correction that seeks to restore, not correction that seeks to cancel one or destroy one. And that's I think that's how I can answer the question.
Ghazali, she is just over here giving you list after list after list about ways that mentorship can be helpful and how we can help to develop ourselves and each other. So Ghazali loves lists.
And I love it.
You are just like playing into his little hands today. We know that schools are high stress environments. We know that there are many schools that are greatly under-resourced.
Yeah.
So those are things that are leading, part of the things, as there are many others that are leading to people leaving the teaching profession worldwide, right? Like this is a worldwide thing.
Yeah.
And we just talked to another guest recently who was talking about how hard retention and retention is in the UK. And so I'm curious, as we're talking about mentorship here, how do you think that mentorship and good mentorship can actually help to prevent teacher burnout, prevent teachers from leaving the profession, and honestly just like help with retention and satisfaction?
Alrighty. I think that when you mentor people, you are imparting a system. And if you are mentoring people, imparting a good culture, it will ultimately spread in the school. And when it spreads in the school, it improves the way that, the work relationships. Some of the burnouts that we are suffering really in education, apart from overcrowded, I teach grade 7, I have 160 something learners that are spread in 3 classrooms. And apart from the overcrowding, apart from the under-resourced, schools, I really believe that if the environment says that, if the environment is healthy and it encourages people to wake up in the morning and come to school, you have defeated the first thing that make people or teachers to be burned out. And I'm going to talk about this, and because I'm passionate about mental health in the workplace. As I said, I was mentored by a really great, a good man who really had looked at all the aspects of a person who comes into the workplace. Most of the time, teachers are not really resigning. I think, I said this. They're not resigning because of the pressure that we see. If a teacher can know that, regardless of the number of kids that I have, the shortage of resources that I need, I know that there are people around me who've got me. If a teacher cannot worry about coming to school and having to fight for herself, or if a teacher cannot worry about coming to school and having to fight a toxic environment that is created by lack of integrity, that is created by lack of, confidentiality, lack of accountability, lack of responsibility, and that lack of really leadership that is out there, I think we would be safe, or teachers will be really relieved. And I am on that line of thinking that I may as well thinking of exiting the department, because really sometimes it becomes unbearable. But I think my strength is I'm aware mentally, and I have become that person who speaks about mental health. That is why I'm passionate about having a sound and a sober person who spearhead, mentoring, because then it diffuses all the conflict. Sometimes it is just because we are led by someone who can handle conflict, and they let it overspill and even overspill into people who do not have anything to do with conflict, and then it becomes an unmanageable environment. Sometimes we are led by someone who really it doesn't have that confidentiality ethic in them, that you go, one teacher goes and talk to them about a certain thing, and then the next thing is all over the school. And as a person, maybe it might be something that was dear to you, and you feel like, why am I mean, there are tiny bits of things that are done to cause toxicity in the school environment. And I believe that if you work with, let me say, for example, if you work with maybe 2 teachers, we have, let me say in a school, we have 4 people that we know that they can be good mentors, and each of them take 2. They are transferring a good culture of, dealing with each other. By the end of the year, we have helped to develop 4 strong educators who, we have worked with them in terms of integrity, in terms of, handling conflict, in terms of handling themselves around the school, so that we can avoid small tiffs and that. By the end of the year, we have 4 people who are really sober and equipped, to generate good working relationships. Then next year, we develop it again. We take more. I mean, in 3 years, if we are taking 2 for 6, it's 888, it's 16, how it's 30 something in 3 years. Are we not developing the school culture? Yes, we are. And even in mentorship, I think it will help people to know that there is someone. Sometimes it's people get so deflated by the fact that they are hard workers and no one recognizes them. I believe that one role of mentorship is to say, we do see what you're doing, we acknowledge what you are what you are doing. It is valuable, and people thrive when I really believe that the environment counts first. I see all the other things, but an environment. I work in one of the most underdeveloped, under-resourced school, but every year the kids that get out of the school come back and say, wow, thank you so much. And what do you do? When I look at what I am doing with what I have, I always say there's nothing that I'm doing. But when you get feedback after years, when kids come back, you're like, look, there we go. So it's really not a matter of resources, but it's a matter of an environment, how the people relate to each other in the environment.
I absolutely love that you took that question to culture and environment. I strongly, strongly agree with you that the better the culture is, the less that resources matter. I worked at a place, I had, my mentor principal. And when I first started with him, our school was based out of an old bank building. Our art room was literally where the vault used to be. And like the vault door was still on. We just always kept it open. It was really cool. But we were growing, and we were struggling. We were in Los Angeles. And so it was really difficult to find land to like build a school building, and so we were like taking over other types of buildings to create classroom spaces and whatnot, right? But we were thriving as a school community. Our students were growing and developing more and more every year. Our test rates were getting higher and higher. And he used to say it wasn't about the resources, it was about the people, not the place. It wasn't about the building that we were in. It wasn't about the resources we had or didn't have. It was about having an excellent culture, an excellent group of people who were who had the same goals in mind, who were aligned with one another, and then being able to pass that down to students. And so, it didn't matter that we were in the middle of an underdeveloped and unprivileged area with students who weren't getting an equal education to some in a neighborhood next to them, right? It mattered that the people who were there were on that same page, were good people. And that culture and that environment is what made you want to go to work every day. It's what made students want to go to school every day. And we made it through together, because of that. So I really appreciate that that's kind of like your perspective in a completely different part of the world, because I just strongly agree with you that people and culture can make a huge difference in the education of students and the development of people and the happiness of people.
Yes.
Yep. So with that, my last question regarding what does success look like to you, and how does it translate to the impact on the students?
Success for me is, as I said, I believe, or I tempt myself as not a content teacher, but a life teacher. When I see an overall developed child or learner that is grounded in who they are, and that gets out of the school knowing that they are, they can lead, there's a leader in them, and going ahead to spend 6 years or how many years without me, and come back after that and tell me that I'm in varsity and I'm doing this, and I still believe that I am the best thing ever that happened to me. I still believe that I am right. I still believe that I am complete. I still believe that the sky is the limit. That is success for me, because I did not only give a child content, but I developed and grounded a child for life. That child will carry that, especially, I have to mention it because especially that I work in mostly a disadvantaged area in the township that I work in. So most of the kids that I teach are beat down by the circumstances at home. Some of them, you can tell that this child has greatness in them, but they don't have an idea. Or some of them, they do have an idea, but they struggle with it. So success for me is seeing a child fully growing in who I believe and being able to live that without me, being able to practice what I taught them in my absence and taking it even up to life. I believe I have kids now who are actually working, who have started working. Yes, who have started working. And, whenever they come back to me, mostly it's all about thank you for helping me understand who I am. And that for me, it's success, no matter what they might have achieved. So it's not about what they have achieved, but it's about who they are. Because I always say I want to train kids to become better and active participants in the economy, and really impart that sense of when you've got what you want, come back and pick others. And so when I see my kids practicing that, it says, I say, Judy, you have been successful. You have done it. So I mean, in South Africa, it's not about the money. It can't be really about the money. It's not about numbers. There's this thing that we are doing now, that we are chasing numbers. I teach English. So I teach English. We say FAL, first additional language. What I am passionate about is not pushing the numbers, but I'm passionate about my kids being really equipped. We have a high number of illiteracy, kids who cannot read, but they are from grade 1 up to grade 7. They can't read. So there, I always say, I believe I'm successful when they leave, my classroom knowing how to read and read independently without me teaching them. So I'm not about numbers, but I'm about what I see, what I've imparted into the kids, and I see them being able to do. So success for me is defined as that, the impact that I have done, I have made in the kids to become themselves, grow being themselves, be able to maneuver in life being themselves, believing in themselves, that even when challenges of life hit them, there's always a reminder of who they are and who they can become and of who they are created to become, that they thrive through every challenge and become the people that they are born to become. That's success for me, pertaining my kids.
Wow, so powerful. You have so many just wonderful ways of looking at life, and I really appreciate that. So just this is just really, really wonderful. Judy, as we start to close things up, do you have any final thoughts about how educators can advocate, for mentorship, or how educators can help to build the mentorship that they wish to have, or really just kind of any final thoughts about, the importance of mentorship as we end things?
I think as people, not even as educators, as people, we have to realize that as much as these days everybody wants to live their own life away from people, and that we need each other, that we cannot do much. They say you can't achieve much doing life alone, and in that there are egos that needs to be swallowed here and there. Somewhere, yeah, you need to not become the person who knows it, and be willing to sit under someone's discipleship, and allow people to speak into your life. But at the same time, I think that even those that are in leadership positions really need to sit down with themselves and ask themselves, I am in this position. Am I a leader or am I a manager, especially in my sector? And what is it that I am doing to actually make sure that I develop I think the mistakes that our managers do is to think that they need to develop us by promoting us in terms of, finances only, but overlooking the fact that, if they can take development serious, a holistic development serious, then they will have an effective work relationship. That everybody, all the stakeholders that are involved in education would actually just sit and ask themselves, what is it that I'm bringing to the table to enhance a swift working environment, a healthy environment that will enhance openness. I think there's a lot of mistrust in today's culture, or that everybody wants to keep to themselves. And I understand that sometimes it's because some people have been burnt. You have put yourself out there and you got burned, and you want to, and unfortunately the people that mostly want to keep them to themselves are people who have been given so much that we can benefit from. That I think that as people, we just need to take time to reflect a bit, and be in the habit of valuing people and appreciating people regardless of what effort they bring into the table, because everybody plays an important role. No matter what level they are at, they play an important role to a healthy working environment. Mentorship really is just about saying, hey, we need to step up. All of us, we need to step up and make sure that we are bringing a better environment for the children, for us, the teachers, for the management as well. What could be so, I just imagine an environment where you are a leader and you have people that you don't need to run, after, people you don't need to remind, deadlines, people, because you have developed them so much, and you have imparted the sense of belonging so much, and the sense of, responsibility in them, that even in your absence, people can run things when you are not around. People make deadlines without being followed up because they own this thing. They know that they are important. They know that they are valued. So I think, that will be just my call to everyone, really.
Very beautiful, very powerful, very helpful. Thank you so much for being with us today and sharing your insights, but more importantly, the experiences that you've had. Really appreciate you coming on and just giving us some of the stories that you've experienced over time. So it's really clear that this is a conversation that, while we're having it here, more schools need to be having this conversation. More teachers need to be having this conversation. There is a severe lack of true mentorship happening in schools all around the world. I hear it from people all of the time, not just in the United States. People are lacking this mentorship. And I think a lot of people are going to resonate with this episode because the things that you talked about, Judy, I think are the things that a lot of people are actually experiencing with top-down education and a lack of alignment, consistency, expectations, love, care, respect. It's also important. If we're not developing each other as people, then we're simply not doing our jobs as educators as well as we can be doing them. So just really appreciate you bringing this insight in. So to all of our listeners, Ghazali, Judy, thank you for being here. To all of our listeners, thank you so much for being here. Again, if this episode or any of our episodes resonate with you, we would love for you to subscribe to the Teachers Talking podcast. Please leave us a review. Please share with your colleagues. We really want to continue spreading the love and the support for educators. And if you would like to be a guest on Teachers Talking, please fill out the form that's in the show notes. You do not need to be an expert about anything, just somebody who's willing to talk and share experiences and tell stories to help one another. We have new episodes every other Monday, so we will be back talking to you guys again very soon. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time.